Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera and things frequently explode. How are you all today? So, last time on Building Blocks Z, we were working on the hives. Well, I think before that we were working on the companions. It's a bit of a blur to me, but we did get some work done on the hives. In a little stream after that. So, we massively overhauled how volume handling is done, and from there I was able to get it to actually make sure that things work, so now it actually is capable of telling me exactly where all the rooms should be in a highly efficient way. I still need to tweak it a bit, I think. Because ideally it shouldn't be putting, like, it shouldn't, if it's an indoor rift, it shouldn't be making rooms outdoors, which it clearly is there, and there, and here, and there also. You get the point. If it's an outdoor rift, that's fine, but yeah, so I probably need to prioritize some way of, like, determining roof clearance, I guess. We're looking at Albert. Basically, if I have a meander into here, this right here is a changeling rift. These are opened chiefly by the endgame of the Witch Pact, and these around us are changelings. Aren't they pretty? And all of this greenery around us is hive creep. The rift spreads a whole ton of this hive creep, and it uses that to define the boundaries of the structure it is within. It then runs what's called a volume handler, which extrapolates from that shape all of the points that it contains in the world. And then we analyze that in a really, really heavy way, and that can then identify for us useful spaces where we can put stuff. It's called the box room generator. And then we can actually assign different functions to those locales so that they do stuff. So, hatchery, for instance, or garden, or such. And that's the button I want. If the rift gets sealed, then everything starts to go bye-bye. Not at this rate, I should stress. It's going that way because... It's going away that laggily because I dialed up I dialed up the random tick speed by like 1,000 times. For that. But last time we were working on this, and this is an incredibly intensive thing. This is like literal computer science kind of stuff going on. So we tried to refine it and make it a bit smoother and such, so that it doesn't lag the game or indeed everything very much anymore. And it is currently calculating through the rooms, I believe, which is why we're only seeing one. Because that is the first and largest room to be added. I think. It's possible that this is already bugged out. I'm not sure. Let me see. Yep, the box generator took 6 seconds and found, apparently, one room. Welp. Yeah, it found the hatchery only. Huh. Interesting. That's odd. I'll have to look into that later. But today we are working on a different aspect of the changelings. We're working on a creature known as the broodbringer. Hello, kobolds. How are you all?
Player has joined the game.
Interesting that there's hive in here. That's very curious because I haven't had a hive in here in a very long while. Has the witch gone bye-bye? The witch might have gone bye-bye. Oh no. Let's have a look. Can we find them? Nope. I ain't seeing them. It's probably fine. It's probably fine. Just get it over, shall we? Do you mind? I'm trying to use that. Thank you. You guys and your cutesy sounds. There you are. Hello. Okay, so here we have the Witch, an archfey that you can find inside of the Feywild. And they are essentially a xenomorph queen in disguise. And the changelings are very much just xenomorphs in disguise. In fact, if I set my faction rep with them to be higher, so let's see, set changeling 100. We can see that they do in fact appear as they actually are. A little bit terrifying, a little bit My Little Pony, but all very fine and dandy. And the witch, despite being essentially a xenomorph queen in disguise, isn't meant to be present in the world a whole ton. You pretty much should only encounter the one ever. So that then raises the question, okay, we then need some way to handle the changelings breeding. So how do we do that? Because with goblins, it's violence, chiefly. With kobolds, it's seeing a full moon. So the changelings just looked at you, stood there, then decided you were cool. Aww. For the changelings, though, they have a ritual that grows their hive, but they don't actually have anything that creates more changelings. So, what we're running today is called the Broodbringer, and it's functionally just a xenomorph queen, and they live in these hatcheries with all these little egg spots, and they will run a census across their hives to identify if there are too few changelings for the size of the hive. So that's rooms and how many rooms and size and whatnot of it. And if they find that number to be lacking, they will place an egg into one of these spots. Such is the plan today. I'm still not entirely sure where the witch went, so it's still, Oh my luck, I just unleashed, a second one. Oh, hi there. Found you this time. Maybe teleported in the wiring? That's a non-zero possibility. Why is there creep in here? There really shouldn't be creep in here. Oh, perfect. Okay. That is, that is the witch's version of the changeling disguise. The witch has many different disguises compared to the changelings. Being the patron of changelings, of course, they have multiple disguises. But okay. Let's hop to the code, shall we? And my stream deck is misbehaving again today, so I'm doing everything manually. There is also a Xenomorph Queen outfit worn by the witch occasionally. Consider the two witches meeting. That would be an interesting afternoon, suffice it to say. Now, the Broodbringer qualifies as a sub-boss or a mini-boss because they, if you break an egg inside of a hatchery, they aggro immediately and very badly. So, you should really worry about that. So, Entity Changeling Broodbringer. Do I want this to be... I think I can just add iChangeling, can't I? Yeah. So let's add that. And we can just have Entity Oddity. No, I was changing the wrong thing. No, you're not going to let me... Oh, because I'm doing it under Changeling, of course. There. Okay. So that's the beginning. Thankfully, I used an interface so I can have a whole ton of things that aren't necessarily the same class also be qualified as changelings, so that works. Someone walks into your home and breaks your eggs, you can't not aggro on them. I mean, yeah, if you go into my fridge and you smash my eggs, I'm gonna be really put out by that. That's gonna be like hard to make my pasta. Do you have any idea how hard it is to make pasta without eggs? Almost everything includes eggs. So actually, I have in the modding in Bedmon channel in the Discord a list of features for the broodbringer. Blump. So at least Enderman height, a real chonker. Hive room's already mandated a minimum of 3 blocks in heights. It's 3 to 5, I think, is the limit. So this shouldn't pose a navigation issue. Good. Similar outfit when disguised to the witch's elven disguise, but in darker tones with fewer accessories and a large bustle. I contemplated having a seat, because that could just as easily be an ovipositor, but large bustle seems fine. Spawned in hatcheries, 1 per, and tend to stay in them unless pursuing a threat. Periodically queries local hive, yep, just explained that. Aggroed by breaking eggs or nesting positions. Focus on high precision effects and healing, plus some debuffs and some minion spawning, with a mild focus on acid, of course, and nature styles, because they're kind of tree folk-ish. They're a very sylvan kind of thing. Okay, so we're going to want flap time. We're going to want the parent rift. Those are going to be meaningful and useful to you. I'm being a little ginger with how I'm typing right now. I did just paint my nails. Okay, so we'll have them at about 2.8 tall, and we want to keep them ideally under a block in width, because if they're greater than a block in width, they're going to have to walk all over their eggs, whereas if they're less than a block, they'll be able to move between them, which is more the kind of thing we want. So we'll keep them under that. We'll still increase it to like 0.85. That should be sufficient. If people want to get tricky with like trapdoors or whatnot, then so be it. Wood style changeling? No. 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 Not doing that. Slightly missed. There we go. What time will Christmas Eve stream start? Because you went back until after 10. You'll be there for like the latter couple of hours of it, or the latter hour of it at least. It's gonna start around 9, as usual. There's code in here so that changelings will identify a new hive if they don't have one, so that one's probably not relevant here. That one's probably better to just do that. Like in this case, it's gonna be spawned by a hive. Am I streaming on Christmas Eve? My annual screening of A Christmas Carol starring Sir Patrick Stewart, which in my mind is the quintessential. Oh, there isn't actually code in here for the changelings to store their parent hive. That's interesting. Let's see. Let's actually add that in, since we're here, you know, it hasn't been a huge necessity. MBT utils, I think. There you are. Position tag. Parent hive position. There you go. same thing again. Need to add that line, or else all of the changelings that we have will just vanish when they try to read their entity data. Little bit of a problem, that. Okay, you don't need to worry about carrying items. That is not part of your remit. The hive's being attacked, let's hide it, then bring it out after they leave. Again, so, not doing that. I am not doing any kind of Naruto reference. Nope. Why do I have an open... Why do I have an open jaw counter on the changelings who don't have a jaw? They do wing flapping. They don't have a jaw, though. I don't know, but I'm gonna presume it's meaningful. I'm gonna presume that if I take it out, something will break and or crash. So. Oh, of course, because there's like, it affects their disguise. Of course, like when they're a horse, for instance. Like, yeah. I remember now. They felt left out about not having that coat. Also possible. Okay, is there anything else in here? Nope. That's all about items. The changelings will pick up items almost explicitly when you're not looking. And they will take that to perform ritual magics and sacrifices upon it, and then they will sometimes randomly increase the size of their hive. Okay, that looks about good for right now. Fortunately, though our hive only generated one room, we actually only need that one room, because that one room is the actual room of the rift, which is mandatorily always a hatchery. Oh, Christmas early? Ooh, jar of Nutella. That does sound nice. This really shouldn't have a spawn egg being a mini-boss, but then I guess the T-Rex already does. So I guess it's only fair. Oh, I capitalized both of those. There we go. Okay. So now it should just be a big box, because we don't have anything that actually renders it. And we are going to want to rescale this because our model is not built for what we are asking it to be. Okay, and let's see, we're going to want model changeling. I'm not sure if it'll accept a non-changeling. Should do, shouldn't have a problem with it. But, you know, just in case. Changeling. Grand. Okay, the flapping is part of the interface. Good. That means I can give this model anything and it will render a changeling. Yay, past me. Okay, and head over to the client proxy, where all of the entity registration gets done. Oh, this is a mouthful. Render changeling broodbringer. Entity changeling broodbringer. Attack entity changeling broodbringer. Entity AI changeling broodbringer. Just, oh. It's practically a tongue twister at that stage. Alright. Now we should be able to create a broodbringer. We should be able to spawn one in, to be exact, but if we go over to... is it room behaviors? Nope. Hive room behaviors? There you are. Okay, so hatchery. We need to have the hatchery, when it updates, look for the presence of a broodbringer inside of it. Because currently all it does is just create nesting positions. So if rand.nextInteger, let's say once every 50 seconds would be a meaningful thing, but for the case of this, we'll want it to be much faster so we can actually test it. So we'll say like 100, which is about once every 5 seconds. Then we need to search for the all of the loaded entities in the world, and first we need to scan through, find all of the changeling broodbringers, and then we need to check if their parent hive position is part of this hive. Which is a little tricky because we aren't actually fed the hive here. So we'll have to find the closest hive and all of the broodbringers. Broodbringers shouldn't leave their hatcheries very much at all. So there's that. So in theory, we could just check for our room. Just go from that. But if you manage to get them to leave their hatcheries, then this will functionally just spawn them very slowly over and over and over, and then you just get a huge feedback of a ton of broodbringers. We could check if we can set their home position and ask them if their home position is inside of this hatchery, and if then we find no broodbringers inside of this hatchery, then we'll know. Okay. Right. So in that case, list entity changeling broodbringer. Broodbringers equals world in dot get entities of the class entity changeling broodbringer dot class. Just leave the always true for this. And actually we can just cycle through this, we don't need to break out of it. Okay, so if broodbringer dot has a home and broodbringer get home position, let's see, what room dot contains. then at that point we can just return, because we found the thing that we're looking for, i.e. a broodbringer who calls this place home. If instead we manage to get through all of that, we now need a broodbringer. So, we need to pick a position on the floor of the room and spawn ourselves a broodbringer. Ideally, not inside of, like, a nesting position or an egg. The only time we should leave is a situation similar to AVP. That is a point. Like, in that particular context, the thing you're referring to, is, well, the chief point of example for a xenomorph queen leaving her hive is when the hive is on fire. So, that's, like, in that instance, the broodbringers should do everything that they can to hunt down whoever's breaking their eggs, but if that leads them out of their hatcheries, that's a problem. We can't at that point guarantee that the hatchery is gonna, the hive is gonna be, like, navigable for them at that stage. So, I am contemplating some means of locking the hatchery, as it were, so that you can't leave it if you've just broken an egg, that kind of thing. If the broodbringer has an active attack target, then the hatchery should be, like, inescapable. By most means, anyways. Let's see, so... yeah, we need to create a broodbringer. I think these are only done on the server side. I don't recall anymore. Also, this probably wants to be under function casual, because that's the part that actually deals with making it do stuff without changelings nearby. Called by the hive, generally responsible for requestion supervision. Apparently is a thing I typed at some point. Whereas this one, called by changelings when they complete enter AI changeling operate room. So let's actually shift this up to there. Okay. We leave then the broodbringer to do the spawning of eggs, so that's fine. So, broodbringer, need to set a position. So for that, block position start pos equals room.min, or just have that be null, and then do start position equals new block position room.min plus rand.nextInt bound to the x size and room.min.getY always, so that's always the floor. So we just continually try to select a random position at the ground floor until we get one that doesn't get voided by some means. What's your problem? X, Y. What's your problem? Undefined argument. Ah, right. Because I'm giving it the whole thing, that's why. There. Foresee a hive in an area with an awkward drop down, and changelings somehow keep getting in there, making the hive number drop, so they make more changelings. Then when you get there, they are either entity cramming or they explode out in a cloud of changelings. Well, I guess. Okay, we want to set your position to be start pass.getX, Y, and Z. And your home position needs to be the starting position, and we're going to say the maximum size of this particular room. So math.max room.sizex and room.size-z. So if it's a really big hatchery, she can wander quite far. The next thing would be to ideally get, like, the parent hive set in here. It's not currently necessary, but, you know. No, I think we have a function for getting a hive. The rift. I'm fairly certain I've had to do that a lot. Let's see, ritual. Ritual definitely has to do it. At some stage. You'd think I'd be able to find this. I'm gonna take a wild guess at this. Let's see, get random, contains room, create, get, register, nope. I know there's a... There has to be something here, surely. I know I've done something for this. Get nearest rift. There you are. Okay. From a block position, a world and at maximum distance. Fine. And we'll say the maximum distance is 128. We most likely will not be identifying a place further than that. And we I was about to say there is a possibility this can return a null, in which case calling get position is going to cause this to crash. But on the other hand, this code cannot possibly run if there isn't a rift. Because it's run by the rift. So it shouldn't be an issue. There we go. Okay, so if it's not an instance of hive creep when we are getting our position, then we just set it to that. Okay. Pretty fine. We could also do with setting the home position to just being the middle of the floor of the room. Because then they might not then they'll actually like wander the area of the room. That's probably a smarter idea. Just as an idea. So that would be room.min, add room sizex over 2, 0, and room.size-z over 2. There. Okay. So within 5 seconds, we should see a broodbringer spawn, and they'll just look like a very big changeling right now. See if that part works. This is the casual function, so there doesn't need to be a changeling in the hatchery for this to happen. Also, I accidentally kind of coordinated today for this particular task because obviously we have Xenoplush to my side, but I'm also wearing a Wayland Yutani Nostromo shirt. So, yeah, that happened. So here we are in the hatchery, looking for a big old changeling to turn up. How you doing, H? Not to be mistaken for the character from Ready Player One. Now it's 5 seconds randomly, so... So did I gauge this? Oh, the Thailand went weird. There's a couple of bugs with persistence in the tile entities at the moment, so... Hive creep, go burr. It doesn't go that fast, remotely. Okay. Beginning calculations. Should only take a few seconds, and we shouldn't notice any lag. Yep, that took 8 seconds total. And the generator, 5 seconds. And once again, only found one thing, which suggests to me it's only running once. So now we definitely have a hatchery that is being updated. Yep, because we can see all of those being run. These egg positions, by the way, you can walk over nests, you can't walk over eggs. And consequently, they are specifically coded so that there is only one per 3x3 spot on the floor, which produces interesting patterns occasionally, because these are placed randomly, they're not placed efficiently. But since they're only 3x3, that means they're always navigable by players. As long as you're less than a block wide, there's always going to be a path through these. Unless one's directly in front of the door out, but there's only so much I can do. Yeah, we're not seeing... I think the changelings are told to come here by the hatchery in the course of Function Casual, so... We're evidently not seeing any spawns. Interesting. Okay. We have our first bug of the evening. Well, our second, because my stream deck still doesn't work, but still. So what could be breaking that? Alternatively, am I being a silly and it is one of those changelings is in fact the broodbringer just being rendered at normal scale? Okay, no, it should definitely be rendering as a twice the size. Actually, let's change that to 1.5. That should be about right. Only time we can get stuck is if you make yourself wide with custom player models. You're not wrong. There wasn't any references to there being a problem with that, so... Oh, I'm a complete idiot, that's why we're not seeing anything. Who can see the thing that I forgot to put in here? Anyone? Anyone at all? I forgot to put in the code that actually spawns it. Yep. There we are. Ah, there's always something. I did all of that calculation. All of that checking. And that's the line I forget. Oh. But if that was indeed the problem, or indeed the only problem, then we should now get a broodbringer, and we should notice them by being huge, a hecking unit. For changelings, we're watching you trying to figure out what you want. It's all. Don't make me sound like an inept parent. Okay. So, shouldn't take very long. Still reads as a hatchery. So it's still contained by something, at the very least, but it does appear to be that that particular hive is broke. As a creative mode player, I am fully capable of just borking these myself, though. And as you can see, all of that went away because that's part of the dismantle function. And now things are starting to break down. Just sort of turns autumny. And then breaks. But that's a lot of block updates happening, so... It's a little bit on the laggy side there. But that's just sort of... I can have the creep stick around, I guess. But I kind of like the autumnal looks of dead hive. Okay, got a hatchery. Show me the chunker. Show me the unit. Seeing a lot of placing of the nest positions, but so far, no broodbringer. Come on, I believe in you. Are they outside? No, they couldn't possibly be outside, because the boundaries of the room are what they spawn in. Hive does not want a broodbringer. Oh. Hive's being a rebellious teenager that don't need no parent. Doesn't need a babysitter. No, we don't appear to be having ourselves any kind of spawnage. Okay. Very interesting, very interesting. Okay. So we have additional bugs. Other than the changeling. We have unintended bugs. So those sysouts would actually be useful. So they spawn at a random position inside of the room, but they always have their home position set to the middle of the room. Fine and good. Now there is a theoretical possibility with the way this code works, which is if the broodbringer, if the chunk, like if the, how do I explain this? If the hatchery stretches across multiple chunks, and only like one of those is loaded, then theoretically a broodbringer could spawn in the loaded chunk, just wander towards the unloaded chunk, and then the hatchery would just continually keep trying to spawn new broodbringers. Now, the fact that it's meant to be like maybe once every like few minutes or once in every in-game day, ordinarily should curb that a lot, but it won't solve that problem. So that's a thing I'm probably going to have to bear in mind at some stage, or just live with, I guess. Because if you're worried about having broodbringers around, you probably don't have to worry too much about anything. I definitely need to deal with this. Is that 97 for, yeah, 1646. It is the Rift that's having issues when it loads. Yeah, that's fine though. Wakes up eventually. Oh, we got a hatchery. Hooray. Okay, so if there's a if these lines are up, it's because there is actually a structure here. Those lines are only visible in creative mode. They are used for administration only. So we're looking at function casual, which is the thing that tells a change that requests visits from the changelings. And we are waiting for this to post a message of any kind. Come on. Well, I'll be back in about 10 minutes. Everybody, see you then. Welcome back, everybody. So, just before we left off there, we had created the new broodbringer entity. Doesn't do anything nor look any different except for being about 50% taller. And we are currently trying to get the hatchery to actually spawn one. And that's where we're hitting some interesting problems. So, hopefully, I have fixed some of them. Semi-fat chats, but let's find out. What we are doing right now is we are sysouting whenever this function gets actually run. From there, we'll know if indeed we're checking for an active broodbringer at any point, and if that is somehow breaking at this point, then we'll never see the second message of spawning a new broodbringer. So, it's just a matter of watching it and seeing if it actually gets called at some stage. It hopefully should. Yeah, I don't see any problems in here, so it should be good. I don't see anything that says specifically do or don't update, so it should be fine. Okay, running function casual on hatchery with 17 nests. Okay. That's a good start. So it is running. We can see that much, because that's what's happening over here. That feels like it's every few seconds. Did I set this to update irregularly? Yep, once every 50 ticks. There's my problem. Okay, so it's working, it's just extremely slow because it's functionally set for once every 5,000 ticks. I don't even know off the top of my head how long that is. Let's see, 5,000 over 20 ticks per second, that's once every 250 seconds, or once every 4 minutes. No wonder we're not seeing any broodbringers in here. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. That should work out to once every 100 ticks. Okay. Hopefully that's the problem. So how are we all tonight? We all doing okay? So yeah, the update rooms function gets called every tick, but it only calls it once every 50 ticks. That's why that was happening. Tired? I am very sore, because I had to haul about 5.5 kilograms of cargo over a mile yesterday. Hello, we have ourselves a new broodbringer. Hurrah! Okay, there they be. And we are still seeing it checking for one. Very good, very good. Okay, grand. The chunker is here. The fairly narrow chunker is here. Very good, very good. Okay, missing a texture, but that's fine. Yes, Cam, that is your fault. Particularly because Okay, so Cam had to give me the tracking details so I could actually get this package, because it was so large I had to be sent by a system called Parcel Force, because Royal Mail doesn't handle anything of a kilogram or higher. So they just pass that onto a system called Parcel Force, and they don't deliver to PO boxes, but they take the mail anyways. That logic still eludes me. So yes, Cam sends me the tracking information, tells me ahead of time that it weighs about 5.34 or something kilograms, and that I will probably have to take our grocery trolley, which we use because we are small, weak programmer people, so yeah, because it is of such size and mass. Cam neglects to mention the dimensions of the package, so I trek about a mile out from city center, pretty much, with this grocery trolley in tow, only to then discover that this box is in fact so massive it won't actually fit in the grocery trolley. Now, for further detail, the depot where this was is in the middle of the industrial sector of Middlesbrough, so it's not exactly pedestrian accessible. You can get to it on foot, but it doesn't really have a, pedestrian access kind of thing. And in fact, my usual route through it was interrupted by an extremely muddy building site. So that was fun. I had to pathfind in the dark, in the mud. So that meant that there was a significant portion of the trip back with this thing where I just had to straight up carry it. And you recall I mentioned weak programmer buns. Yeah, that's us. Okay, so we don't have a texture for the actual broodbringer, which is what we see here. That's why it doesn't have a texture, despite the fact that we do have a changeling texture. So let's just clone that. So yes, I then today had to also go and get groceries, which was hell in and of itself. So I am quite tired now. I'm very sore. Okay, let's call this changeling broodbringer. Just so we can get ourselves the thing we're looking for. I believe we want entity texture. Yes, no, am I wrong? Let's check render changeling. Which is so much more complicated for the simple reason of these guys have multiple multiple disguises and such, multiple appearances. But for right now, we're just gonna have it be always obvious. There. That should get ourselves the appearance we want. And I can now take out all of these sysouts so that they don't just spam somebody's console. Because now we know that works. And it was not working for the two distinct, really ridiculous reasons. Okay. So, layer. Let's see. Patron Witch Crown? No. Hats? No. Changeling Mask? No. Witch Changeling. There you are. Okay. We need something much like this that uses basically the same. I evidently cloned this from the changeling, from parts of the changeling. We need basically this, but not set to be quite like that. Layer, changeling, broodbringer. Mostly using the same things. That should be everything, and then I'm guessing this doesn't take a patron witch. Good, okay. Should be fine then. So now, our broodbringer should not only have a texture, but should also have the accoutrement befitting of her station. But yes, that is the story of what has become almost itself an annual tradition. Cam sends us a bunch of stuff pretty much every year, and it's always fun and wonderful and heavily appreciated, I should hasten to add. But I swear, the fact that it is almost mandatorily heavy enough that it gets handled by Parcel Force means that every year I have to trek out to that depot and back with some big heavy box. And that has become almost a tradition in and of itself. Okay, so this should look just how the witch does when they're doing their xenomorph impression. Okay, firstly, I forgot to add the layer. Secondly, there are two of them, where there were not two of them before. Oh. That's not how that's supposed to work. Hey H, how you doing? Hey Harvey, how you doing? Okay, why are there two of them? Duplication is a bad thing. We don't want that to be happening. Now, most likely, that'll be... That most likely that happened because it's refreshing fast enough that when we were loading in, it hadn't loaded in the broodbringers yet, so it just didn't find one, and then it updated and did its thing. So that's probably just a consequence of how frequently it's currently updating. Probably. But let's see. I need to actually go to the renderer and add the layer, because that's the next thing. Yeah, probably just updated like twice and didn't realize it was supposed to be there. Okay, what's your complaint? Okay, fine. You want to be like that? I can do that. Okay, now it should have the accoutrement. You wait now for a broodbringer and then two come along at once. The yearly intense physical workout. Yeah. Like, I've done all sorts to try and make that trip shorter. I've clambered up hills, and then slid and fallen down them. Box in tow. I did, like, bearing in mind I had to walk past, I basically have to walk along a train line and past, like along several different highways, essentially, to get to that depot and back. Like, at one point in the course of this year's trek, I did contemplate, like, calling up a taxi. Because, of course, the main reason this thing is, like, accessible by is, like, cars, not people on foot. And then I realized, do I trust do I trust the taxis in Middlesbrough, currently in Tier 3, to be pandemic safe? And the answer to that was nope. Okay, yeah, now we're up to 3. The hatchery code does specify that it has to be a server-side world, so got that going for us. Okay. Yeah, you can't leave through there because you're too tall, but you are fully capable of... Oh, we got a problem. We got a problem. Okay. So there is a problem here, and I betcha it's something to do with checking the home position. Yeah, it's not the loading in thing, because we are clearly fully loaded here. And if the save data of the broodbringer was somehow wrong, then they would just not spawn at all. But clearly, since one of them just spawned in front of our eyes, Now refresh my memory quickly. What are we checking for when we're asking for a new broodbringer? We are asking if all the broodbringers that we can find have a home, and if the room that we're executing on contains their home position. I wonder if it's to do with that. That seems to be fine. So my next question is, have we forgotten something about set home? No, home position does get created. Does it get saved? because we've only ever spawned one additional broodbringer. So if the ones that we're loading from backup from the memory don't store their home position, I wonder if that's it. I wonder if home position isn't stored in like save data by default. Hang on. Could that be it? That appears to be the problem. Okay, hang on. Let me show here. So, home position... Shush, please. Is that it? No. Okay, good. Home position is a feature from Minecraft Vanilla. That's what I'm using here for this. And it basically just prevents a creature from wandering too far from a given location. It's not used almost at all inside of Vanilla, at least in 1.12 and 0.2, with more recent versions like the Turtles, I imagine is used more. But because it is used so little, evidently it is not by default actually included in the vanilla save data. So that's the problem. Home position isn't getting set, so consequently every time we reload they lose their home position. And then the hive room recognizes that there is no broodbringer that is set to be working in this hatchery. So it creates a new one. That's why that keeps happening. Okay, right. We need to be saving our position then. Just call it home, I guess. Let's see. It bounces between has home and like has home position. It's kind of annoying. Okay. We can also, let's see, what did we, oh, we are going to have to write what the distance is too, because that can vary quite a bit. Okay, that's fine. Is this, yeah, it was looking for combat. There you are. Maximum home distance. That's what I'm looking for. Really? So, maximum home distance is set as a float value, which is basically 1.0, 1.5, 1.2, 1. Like however much you want. But setting it only takes an integer. Why? That's so bizarre. Okay, so now they should probably remember where they are, where they belong, and then we shouldn't lose them. But we will still get some newbies when we boot this up again, because those guys won't have, those ladies won't have set their position. Because Minecraft, yep. Easily the most frequent topic of discussion on these streams is how much the Minecraft code sucks. Okay, so now we shouldn't see any additional broodbringers. Well, other than the 2 that were there to begin with. Because they would have stored their positions, so the hatchery won't recognize them. Okay, there's the new one. That one shouldn't go anywhere. And if I run this command over here, then I shouldn't get the furthest one away. There we go. Okay. So if we reload this world, we should still only have the 1. Because now they actually remember their home position. And looks good. Okay. Hurrah. Interesting that that's basically the same exact position it's been choosing every time. I don't know why that is exactly. Like, there's nothing unique about that spot, so I don't know why exactly it's choosing that, but okay. On to the next feature, now that we've actually got them spawning and looking relatively correct. Probably going to change up the texture, might even change up the modeling a fair bit more, just to make it a little bit more distinct from the witch's disguise. But yep, looking pretty nice there. And I think that render height's about okay. Might make it a little bit lower, but looks intimidating, that's for sure. Now they'll get lonely, but they have so many kids just running around. Like, we've got H, we've got Harold, we've got Harvey. They're doing fine. They're doing fine. But okay, onto the AI, the part I'm really good at. Right. So, the first thing that we're going to need for their AI, of course, is their main, like, titular feature, i.e. placing eggs. So, AI, for this particular boss, I guess should be here. So, entity, AI, broodbringer, egg. Sure, why not? Always give your stuff meaningful and, like, comprehensible, like, names. Okay. So for this, we're gonna need to find the nearest rift to our home position for the broodbringer, and from there, also derive the room at that position, and if that position is a hatchling, a hatchery, that's where we start to check everything. So, let's see, we want private final world, the world's private final entity, changeling, broodbringer, the bringer, why not? We are not going to need a navigator, at least not just yet. That should be most of what we want for the time being. AI, not I. Bring her in. Wasn't intended to be a gag there, but I guess it works. One. Okay. Now this just doesn't need to be a very long thing for right now, so we'll just have it function in a single execution. Okay. So, let's break down exactly what this needs to do. So, we need to identify parent hive, identify assigned hatchery, and then tally hive population. And from there, if it's low enough, spawn an egg. Which we are not all doing here. So, okay. Tile entity rift changeling. Rift equals tile entity rift changeling dot get the nearest rift to bringer's home position, or parent hive, I guess. With the world, and we'll say another 128, because again, it probably will never get that far. There's a non-zero possibility it will, but you know, should be fine. Okay. Box room. Hatchery. Get room at our home position, which again is always in the middle of our thing. Wait, did I just see a... That's interesting. I'm gonna have to check that later. Okay. Apparently I already had some kind of notion of this. Okay. If hatchery equals null, return false. Okay. We also should probably store that here, because we are probably going to want that when we're actually defining ourselves, like, where to put this egg. You found bees and a jungle temple in your single-player Terraria world. Okay. I had a fun experience recently in Terraria, actually, because we played it on stream for Carousel recently, and I had got a nice bunch of gear, and I wanted to get some nice modifiers on it. But of course, getting modifiers requires a lot of money, so I just hopped on to like grind some money, language so, and that was fine enough. But let me see. I hop in. The first thing that happens is I find out that I'm undergeared for hard mode, which that world now is. So I die a bunch of times trying to use the elevator. And then a blood moon happened. So a whole bunch of high power creatures just started like swarming the base. So I start figuring, okay, I'll just wait it out. I'll just stay safely indoors. And then I find out that hard mode and most recent Terraria versions and Blood Moon means there are some enemies that no-clip and just float through the ground and the walls and everything and then kill you. So I figure, okay, I'll just stay near the Dryad because she has an AoE defensive kind of effect. And then I get the message, a goblin army is approaching from the east. Which is a rare event where they can come in, break your doors, and just kill everyone. So then I quit out of Terraria. Because it clearly did not want me to play it. But oh boy. Okay, so we need to tally the hive population, which means we need to get an assessment from the Rift as to basically all of the changelings that are assigned to that hive. Now, pretty much for that, we're going to have to cycle through every changeling, every eye changeling within like range of the rift, and calculates if this rift is their home position. So now it's probably worth adding a function to the actual thing here. So let's see. List entities. Or call it entity living, I guess. For get occupants, residents. Not 100% certain. Okay, so for entity living, ent and get world dot get entities living, and let's have a new predicate in here which just asks if the entity living being checked is also an eye changeling entity. I believe we want the Java version. Is that the one? No, it ain't. Oh, that should be input as well. There you are. There's a very particular one that it uses. There we go. Watches. Lying continually uses array lists and for loops to most probably melt most machines. Okay, so if we need to do changeling, the entity. So if changeling.getParent hive position equals this position, then add that to our residence. Oh, which is, of course, actually just the entity. There we go. Okay. So that gets us all of the changelings that we need to be worried about. That'll also include the broodbringer, by the way. Okay. This is why my character had the highest level gear for non-hard mode. If he was there, all these issues you had would not be. But yes, it would also be way less terrifying. Like, sure, you were pre-hard mode, but also there wasn't much of a threat in that case. So, just saying. It's meant to be a fun game that includes challenge occasionally. Okay, so we can now find out what the population is just by asking the Rift. Grand. Now we need to figure out how big that population should be, and what's our metric gonna be? Do we want to have like 2 changelings per room, or maybe 1.3 or something like that? I feel like 1 changeling per room should be a decent like skeletal crew kind of thing. So if rift.rooms.size is let's see, times, we're gonna say 1.2 for the time being, is greater than population, return true. Or more specifically, we can just do that. So if the rift has more, significantly more rooms that it has actual changelings, then we just start executing at ourselves an egg. Okay, so we have our hatchery. From our hatchery, we can then actually check for, let's see, nest positions, tally nests. We want to call find all block to find all of the nests, and then we want to get ourselves a random nest spot. So for that we've got hatchery. For that we've got the world. And for that we can just ask hive room behavior dot hatchery. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. Room behaviors dot changeling hatchery. Dot nest. There you go. Still don't like that, huh? Okay. Why not? Should be public, but yeah, that's fine. Just grab that, I guess. Actually, just grab this. Just grab that whole thing. Why not? Okay, so that gets us a list of all of the nests, which does not include the ones that already have eggs in them. So there is a possibility that we're going to want to actually add that to our population tally, just so that we don't get a massive runaway. Egg maker go brrr in that case. Okay, so it's the population plus the number of eggs that we have currently. Okay. Then we just need to get a random one. So, the world set block state nests get the world dot random next int nests dot size, and we're just gonna set our egg right there. Just have that quickly there, just in case. Okay. So that, let's see, we have the broodbringer plus Harvey, Harold, and H. So that's 4. We only have the one room, so we're only asking for 1.2 changelings. So unless our changelings forget which hive they belong to, we shouldn't see any eggs. Trying to think, is there anything else I'm missing here? I think it's good. So let's take a look at the changelings. Let's see if they store their parent rift at all. They do indeed. Okay. So if we wanted them to forget about it, we would have to get rid of that, and then we'd start to see some eggs turning up, or at least the one egg. I'm okay with the one egg turning up, so let's just comment that out for a second. And to see if an egg turns up. There are currently 0 eggs in our nests, so we shouldn't see anything turn up. Fingers crossed. So the hatchery creates the broodbringer, and the broodbringer supplies the hatchery. And defends the hatchery. Just the next thing we do. Is that taking a while, or is it just... Yep, because it stopped. Their problem. What happened? Okay, we somehow had a null. That's interesting. Should probably ask if it has a parent hive. That would probably be little helpful there. Because otherwise, that can return a null. But right now, the only kind of changeling... Well, the only changelings that should be able to, like, say they have a parent hive, on this map at least, should be the bipedal ones. The ones that wander around in their nice little pointy hats. Oop. Grabbed the wrong bit there. Okay. We've managed to log in. So, next question. The only thing on this madam's mind is, offspring, currently. So, we should check for the hive, check for the hatchery, and then that gives us all the data that we need. But I notice we don't appear to have any eggs. Oh, of course, because when they call get parent hive, they generate, they find a hive to attach to. That's why. Okay. I only did like half the work for that. I see. I asked them, do they have a hive? Which they just returned that. But then those changelings, when they retrieve their hive, actually bind to one. It's this code right here. So we also need to get that out, because it will otherwise set its data manager. I did contemplate, with regards to, like, how, like, the changelings are meant to be kind of weird and creepy, mostly insect-like, but differing in significant ways, because there's a nice little thing for Fae, they tend to be, Fae tend to be the semblance of imitating normal reality, as it were, human kind of, notions, but off. Like, off to a degree where it's, like, maybe subtle, but also deeply disturbing. So I thought of, if we had that idea, how do we represent an ovipositor, but slightly wrong? And we have an egg! Hey! Hurrah! An egg. It's an egg. Okay. Okay. So the next thing that we need... Well, we should probably actually make the broodbringer be in the room when that happens. That's maybe a thing. Because right now she's just sort of wandering all about. But hurrah. Random egg. Good, good, good. And if we reboot, we'll get another egg. Because we still will have no one... no, actually, no, we're counting eggs as well. So if we reboot the world, we shouldn't see more eggs turn up. If we do, there's a problem. Just yeeted the egg across the room. I mean, more or less, that's gonna happen anyways. I don't actually want to have to get her to pathfind to each individual egg she wants to place, because that will be a massive pain in the neck. And it'll be so much easier to just have it appear, which they're like magical creatures anyways. They teleport, that's fine. It's fine if they don't actually have to pathfind everywhere, and also that saves on a lot of computing. So, I'm okay with that. Okay, we can now reinstate their memory of their home hives. There we go. Okay. Now, that's happening basically every tick. So, let's add ourselves a bit of random to this. Long-range eggling. I can't think of I can't think of something that's like what I'm trying to think of. But basically, like, there is an egg production inside of the broodbringers, but the actual egg doesn't get laid, it just gets positioned. Like, instead of a laying, as it were, it just sort of like gets teleported from within the broodbringer to where the egg should go. That's the best I can think of. Okay. So we know that we want the broodbringer to go to to be within the hatchery when this egg gets laid, so we can actually like correlate. Oh, the broodbringer came over and there was an egg. Less messy, I guess. Maybe changelings, well, maybe the Fae just have never actually seen childbirth, or indeed anything laying eggs, which makes a degree of sense because they are frequently... You don't tend to see, like, changeling children. You don't tend to see Fae children, I guess, specifically Fae, because the part of the changeling myth is that they steal human children after birth and replace them with Fae, like the changelings. So... I guess maybe they've just never actually seen childbirth. So maybe they don't actually understand that the creature doesn't just appear. Which is probably for our benefit, honestly. I don't want to imagine what childbirth, but often disturbing, looks like. Like, that's... I'm gonna... Yeah, I would prefer to stop that fort right now. We're going to use the hatchery value, since we set that in our should execute anyway, as our limiter. So, first step, check to see if there is actually anywhere we could place this egg. Good. Fuel of nightmares and spooky fanfics. Oh yeah, oh yeah. There are... The witch definitely appears in some fanfics involving eggs, I know that much. Because the witch is drawn for my fandom and such. Okay, so if... there's an AI task that we can borrow from here. Operate room. So this is just the code that, this is the code that changelings use when their attention is requested by a given room. It's what makes them wander over to the areas and suddenly stuff starts happening. It's not actually them doing it, but it gives the appearance of them being the ones doing it. Which is more or less sufficient when it comes to AI. Oh, and it's just time for my last break. So I'll be back in about 10 minutes, everybody. See you now. Hey everybody, welcome back to the last hour of our evening, and so far we've made good progress. So, we have managed to get the hatcheries to spawn a broodbringer, conditionally upon there not being a broodbringer in the world that is tied to that particular hatchery. And we have managed to get the broodbringer to create an egg. We are currently just quickly making it so that the broodbringer actually has to be in the room to do it. But after that point, we are pretty much set to start on the aggro ability. So all this is fairly straightforward. So our ratio here is 1.2 changelings per room of a hive, and that is including all of the eggs that are currently gestating, I guess, inside of the hatchery. Only now there's a limit here. There can be multiple hatcheries for each hive. In fact, with larger hives there frequently are, and this tally only affects the current one, the one this particular broodbringer is tied to. So if there is a shortage and there are multiple hatcheries, then theoretically you can get a rapidly overblown population, but as soon as that population exceeds 1.2 per room, it should be fine. So it shouldn't get too ridiculous. It just means that it'll increase in chunks rather than specifically unified, which is fine, because if a broodbringer is only present in one room, they maybe don't have full knowledge of the entire hive. That might be a thing. They don't the broodbringers don't get together after soccer practice to talk about how things are going down. That's fine. So if we go and we get rid of that egg that was placed, for that we're gonna have to actually go back to our entity changelings and just make sure they don't know where they're supposed to be, or else it won't actually ever set one again. So, yeah, that would be frustrating. The alternative is I just get rid of all of the changelings, but I don't really want to get rid of them. They're nice. Let's keep them. Alternatively, I guess I could just change their hive position by their entity data, but it's, yeah. So what we're looking for here is we get rid of the egg, and then our broodbringer should actually move to the room, whether that be by walking or teleporting, and then a new egg should appear. And then the last bit of work for tonight is to make her really mad at us if we break said egg again. Okay. Where have the other three gone? Nope, they haven't despawned for any reason, as near as I can tell. We might have lost them one way or the other, okay. Well, rip the H's, I guess. Okay, so we get rid of this, and we should see, yep, broodbringer comes in, and there is a new egg. Okay. Grand. Now, we make her very angry at us when we do that. Which is not very much. Currently, she only has 20 hit points, no armor, and, basic damage. In fact, I'm not even sure she has an attack value right now. So let's see, changeling broodbringer. Let's give her an actual attack. So let's head over to the entity changeling again, because I believe they have the thing I'm after. Or not. Visit a hive, operate room, grab item, store item. Yeah, that's all the standard pieces of changeling. It's kept here so that we can actually just apply that just as writ. Kobolds. Let's try kobolds. Kobolds have this behavior. Hurt by target. There you are. but then the optional... So if you pick a fight with the broodbringer, they should hurt you back. Oh yes, there's that, isn't there? Yeah. Wrong. Am I even in the right location? There's a point. Yes, I'm adding that to the changelings. Ah, well, they can have it too. Changelings can have a little revenge as a treat. Alright, so the next step, attack melee should be in here somewhere. Yep, there you are. That's the thing that actually, like, when your creature has, like, every mob in Minecraft has a value which is attack target, or revenge target in some cases. And what they don't actually have by default is the AI to do anything about it. So if we don't give them this, they'll be really angry, but they won't actually do anything. So you need to add that. In our case, we're just going to add melee. Although I think the broodbringer, despite her bulk, will mostly be a ranged kind of creature. Okay. So that means that she now knows how to attack people. We're also going to go to broodbringer egg and ask, do you currently have an attack target? If you do, we don't want to actually pick a fight at that stage. Okay. So, when a block is broken, there is an event that gets triggered. This is going to be a behavior pretty similar to when you mine gold near a piglin in more recent versions of Minecraft. This is 1.12, we don't have piglins, but nonetheless. Fairly straightforward. We just hook onto that event, we ask if the block that was broken was an egg or a nest, and if it was, then we query for the broodbringer of that hatchery. Well, if it was in a hatchery, which it should be, and if we can find them, then we set their attack target to whomstever did the breaking, and that begins the boss engagement. So let's see, we could put that code into the broodbringer, which seems like the wise idea. So let's see, I have some auto loggers for that, so I just need to remember exactly what the... nope, not that. Nope. There you are. That's the line I wanted. I have a lot of these auto-subscribers, and I'm not terribly certain that that's efficient, I guess would be the phrase. Okay. So, public static final void. Final isn't really necessary here. On egg break event. I think it's that. Block breakable, block events. There you are. Fire when a block is about to be broken by a player, cancelling it will prevent it from being broken. Not quite the event we're looking for. Let's see. Place, break, harvest. Fire when a block is about to drop its harvested items. Nope. Player event, maybe? Because we could use that, but it would be a little imprecise, because if you fail to break the egg, then it doesn't make sense that you should then still be aggroed. If your attempt to break the egg fails, you haven't changed anything she cares about. So... harvest check? Not quite. Is there a destroy block event? That would be fairly close. Let's find out. There's these, the block events, which we've already checked. I mean, break event would work-ish. How about world? Is there world events? Nope. No, none of meaningful ones anyways. Entity? Entity events? Nope. Player? Oh, so many. Players are special snowflakes. Destroy item. There isn't much. There's a harvest check. That's not quite what we're looking for. I think break event might be the one that we go for. In fact, I can check for... I believe... What do I think? If we check block, there should be a thing in here. Or actually world. World definitely has the code I'm looking for. There is this. So we check that, find ourselves an event here somewhere that presumably calls for it somewhere. Strangely, I don't see a single thing in here that would do that. Those commands. Interesting. You'd think that would be here somewhere. Unblock destroyed by player. Okay, check that. Behaviors, player controller. Player controller might have what we're looking for. Let's see, player destroy item? Nope, not quite. I'm sure there's a thing that happens after block break event, but I'm having trouble finding it. Okay then. Okay, right, well, we'll just have to use that then, since I can't figure out what the other thing is. Just set that to lowest priority, and if not event is cancelled, so if it's cancelled, then we just return, because we don't need to worry about it at all. Okay. Or event dot get state dot get block does not equal theoblocks dot egg. Or nest. Because we do want it to care about the nest points. Not as much as the eggs, but if you could just like go into a changeling hive and just destroy all the nests before she puts eggs in them, it would be kind of cheesy, suffice to say. So okay, here we go. Nor, right there. Right, so we determined that it must be actually broken and that it must be a nesting point or an egg. Good start. Next stop. We need to get the hatchery in which it is retained And by that first, we first need to get the tile entity. It'll say 180. Now, if the rift equals null, then just return. We don't have anything. If there's no rift where they are, then we don't have any. If there's no rift near to that block, then it's not in a rift, so we don't need to care. Okay, our next thing is to get our hatchery. Okay, if hatchery equals null, then again it's not a hatchery, which means it can't possibly have a broodbringer, so we again don't need to care. Right. Now we need to actually get the broodbringer for that hatchery. So we need to run basically that code right there. So we just ask, does it have a home and is it in that hatchery? Then, broodbringer equals bringer, and break, because we got them all. Okay. If broodbringer doesn't equal null, and the broodbringer doesn't currently have an attack target, because otherwise you could just go in with a mate and just be like ping-ponging back and forth with eggs until the whole thing was done. Then, broodbringer, set attack target. The event.getPlayer. I should probably also ask if player equals null. Now, there's a caveat here, which is these eggs are destructible by things like TNT. There is not really any meaningful way for me to detect when a given explosion or similar effect is caused by a player. Because TNT isn't caused by players unless they right click on it with TNT with like a flint and steel, and even then it just triggers the block. I don't believe block TNT actually like has anything. Let's see, neighbor changed is the main thing. Let's see, block destroyed by player. Which value here is a player? None of them. So it has no clue who did it, in short. It's not even given that value, in fact, in either of these, so, Destroyed by explosion just spawns the entity. Block destroyed by player, again, doesn't even give itself there. Yeah. So the igniter is a thing, but it's only actually called by activation with a flint and steel or fire charge. So if you ignite it with like a block of redstone, or just a redstone torch or a lever even, then there's no way for the explosion to know who caused it, so there's no way for us to identify who destroyed the block. So there is a way to destroy hatcheries that will not aggro the broodbringer. Which is tragic, because I feel like it's one of the most obvious ways that should aggro broodbringer is setting off TNT in the hatchery, but limitations of vanilla Minecraft, really. Not much I can do there. But you do have to set it off with a lever or a redstone block or a torch or something. If you set it off with, if you ignite the TNT with flint and steel, they'll know. Ish. Explosions don't trigger breaking quite normally, but still. it's an option to just have her search the vicinity for the nearest player when it happens. It is, but if that explosion originates from, say, a creeper, because explosions are identical in code, then you would potentially get picked on, like, by a mini-boss for something that wasn't your fault. And that always sucks. Like, when a fight starts, like, when the consequences of an event happen to you, it's generally a negative. When that event is not of your making, it sucks. And players don't like that. And this is a video game, so we kind of have to prioritize players feeling good about themselves. Most of the time. Dark Souls is an exception. Okay. So we need to check also if the target player would actually be a valid target. Namely, are they in sort of like not creative or spectator mode? So if they're in spectator mode or they're in creative mode, we don't need to worry about it, because we theoretically cannot attack a player in spectator mode, and we, generally speaking, shouldn't attack a player in creative mode, because that's frequently admins. And if an admin is breaking something, we'd give them the benefit of the doubt and presume it was intentional and okay. So, okay. So down here, we're just going to give ourselves a little sis out. Just going to say Mama Angie. Why not? And then we're going to go pick a fight. Now, as I say, we haven't built her for combat yet, so she'll be relatively harmless. If a creeper blows up in a hive, it was probably by a player in your mind. I mean, the creeper was probably aggroed on a player. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the player's fault. The creeper will do that by root anyways. Although I don't think creepers can spawn inside of hives. Come to think of it. I mean, it's extremely variable based on the structure of the hive, but under most conditions, I believe hives are generally by default lit well enough to not have mobs spawning in them. And I think the creep is a non-spawnable lock, I can't recall exactly. So under most circumstances, yeah, there shouldn't be creepers inside of a hive. But there's any number of ways that they could get set off. The most obvious, of course, is they were aggroed to a player, but they can also be potentially shot by a skeleton. Or any number of modded behaviors could happen, you know. Okay. So, there's our broodbringer, here's our hatchery, here's the egg. And I'm gonna swap over to game view so you guys can see this a bit better. Game mode 0. Here we go. So I break this, we should see a message in my, well, I will see a message in the console, and she should charge over to me. Not a thing. In fact, I even harvested it, which is a little odd. Look, nothing happened. The egg has never been spawned before, so that's probably, like, why. But okay. So I attempted to harvest the egg and aggro the broodbringer, and what happened was I picked up the egg. Okay. Apparently I've adopted a child. So, system out, check if that event is being actually done. Congratulations. So yeah, that's our first step. Find out if that's happening. like less than 20. We've got less than half an hour here, so I'm just gonna overload this with information. By seconds it? No. Far from it at this point. So far from it. I mean, there's at least 3. Plus there's every changeling I've created before. Alright. Broken by a player. Okay. Where is this even called? Out of curiosity. Forge hooks, block break event. Try harvest block. Block clicked. Okay, neat. Functionally meaningless, but neat. So, if I go break, like, a piece of grass or something, we should see checking for egg breakage. And I will come back in here and deal with the red. Oh, we now have 2 eggs. Probably because I broke one and they placed it. Okay. Alright. Okay, checking for egg breakage. Good. Good start, good start. If I break that one, checking for egg breakage, but nothing more. Okay. So that's a start. We only have that first line, so that it ran the event, it didn't actually know. However, that it didn't manage to find the event, the rift, or it didn't go through some of this somehow. Okay. It's like the one line I missed. It presumably happened right after that. So the target is null, or is creative or spectator, or it's neither an egg nor a nest, or it's cancelled because it's on lowest priority, which means that if there's anything that prevents it from being broken, then we don't need to care about it. So now I should more or less be able to see what conditional it is that's somehow breaking this. If we get, we know we don't get to found associated rift or hatchery, but the question is that because we're not finding the rift, or because that big block of ores is somehow breaking it? This is the best kind of debugging because it's the easy kind, relatively speaking. Okay. Let's try just breaking this. Whoop. Okay, now she's angry. Now she mad. Okay. Why? That triggered on a nest. We were breaking the eggs before. That didn't seem to cause anything. Yeah, okay, it's the eggs specifically. The nests work fine. The eggs, not so much. So interesting. So we broke the nest and it worked. Broke the egg and it didn't. Why? What could have caused that to act differently? Also, I really need to add some kind of like actual like hardness to these things so that they're not just like done. Like, we definitely use egg. That's the thing that we're setting. Let's ask what's the block time, like the block name was, when we get to this. Let's also just store the block, because we're getting it multiple times, so we might as well. If you use the same value more than once, it's probably worth storing it. Okay, we don't need those because we know those parts work now. We're just gonna turn that off for the moment as well. Just so that I can test this. Okay. Let's check if these borders are correct. Yep, that's fine. That's correct, yep. That's also good. So it most likely happens somewhere here. Question being, how? I believe this is a thing that I can fix before the end of the stream. Whether that is true remains to be seen. Oh yeah, we didn't have a bonus coding stream yesterday. I planned to have one, but I was exhausted and really run down and hadn't slept in like 3 days. So that didn't happen. I don't know, on the token that it will be literally Christmas Day, if it would even be worth doing a bonus coding stream on Friday. But that said, a lot of people are going to be like lonely, home without their families and such. So you let me know. Okay, block broken, egg changeling. So it should register as an egg. So why didn't it? Block broken, hive creep. Okay. Interesting. And yeah, you can see here we just bump into it because the bounding box is significantly taller than just the nest, which is intentional. It's you're meant to have some difficulty moving through there. Obviously, if you have like step up of some kind, then bleh. Okay, let's break this down a bit. So if it's cancelled, we don't need to care about it. There, that's one less thing. If that target wouldn't be wouldn't be a meaningful thing to attack anyways, let's add that here. Prediction 5 minutes after streaming lying fixes problem. I mean, yeah, that tends to happen. If it's not an egg. Okay. So, ooh, creative. Yeah, so if it's null, creative, or a spectator, then not something we can attack. If it's been cancelled, doesn't matter, nothing got broken. And I'm just going to change this a little bit. So, if it's a nest or an egg. Again, egg changeling, it should already absolutely be getting that, because that's... Hang on. It said egg changeling, right? Here it says changeling egg. Do I have two different kinds of egg? Is that something that's actually happened? Hang on. Registry name, changeling egg. I'm certain it said egg changeling when we got it. Ah. Yeah, we have... Oh, because there's a holder. That's what's going wrong. Okay, we found it, everybody. Right. Yes. So down here, this chunk right here, are holder blocks. These are not blocks you can actually get in the game. These are used as rendering. The item frame in Minecraft Vanilla is an example of something that uses the same system. The actual item frame itself is a block model that you can't actually get, but which it renders in position when the item frame is in place. That's why you can have multiple of them in the same slot, the same block position. So here we have similar examples. We have the glass bottle that we use for rendering placed potions. We have the water inside of the alembic. We have the arms on the alchemical centrifuge. And we have the little floaty egg inside of the nest. Right, so I'm giving it the wrong thing. That's what's happening. We need to be egg changeling. Right, does that mean the hive's also placing the wrong thing? No, the hive's fine. Okay. And we cloned this reference from the hive, so the broodbringer should be placing the right thing. Yes, good. Okay, so it's just this one line of code. Perfect, that's fine then. Okay. So now we should be able to get the right thing. And I'm guessing this is... Yeah, egg changeling. There you are. Okay, right. Now it should work fine. Theoretically, we could also trigger it on hive creep inside of a hatchery being broken, but that could get that could get really more annoying than anything else. Particularly if it's a kind of hive creep that is like blocking your passage, for instance. Like there's full block hive that exists. It's used to fill in like problematic areas. Which is why if you have like a hive that grows inside of your like branch mine, it'll fill the whole thing back in. Okay, let's try this again. Egg broke. Hurrah! And we have our egg. Hurrah! That worked. Perfect. So now Mama gets angry when we actually break eggs. Hurrah! So the answer, after all of that, was simply that I was pointing at the wrong egg. There's always something. There's always something. I believe that's all this is adds here. Yes, good. Okay. So, to summarize, we've created the broodbringer. She is spawned in by hatcheries that have at least one nest, one specific per hatchery. The hatchery checks regularly to see if it has a broodbringer, and if it doesn't, spawns one in a random position, bound to the middle of the actual room, and then the broodbringer checks for the population of its home hive, and if that is less than 1.2 times the number of rooms it has, tries to place an egg, which it has to move to the room to do, but it can teleport into the room if necessary, which is just handy because pathing is not necessarily clear, especially in unorchestrated environments. And then, if you break either a nest position in the hatchery or the actual egg itself, you immediately aggro the broodbringer. Ha! Okay. Grand. So the next stream, next Building Blocks stream anyways, we will begin to work on making the broodbringer a credible threat to make you hesitant to break those blocks. Hurrah. As I say, you can cheese them. There's almost no way around that. Like, if you really wanted to get like intense on it, then you don't even have to be the thing that places the redstone block that triggers the TNT. You can just have a piston do it, for instance. And if you like place a rail on a nearby open spot and pack that rail with TNT mine carts or something, and then just gently nudge them, there's no way for me to detect that. Most modded block breakers don't even use a regular player, they'll just use a fake player, as it were, a phantom player if you will, to do it. So yeah, there's no way for me to absolutely positively guarantee that anything other than breaking it with your fist is your fault. And I don't really want to sick a mini-boss onto somebody if it's not something they deserve. So it's an unfortunate problem, but you know, I would rather miss out on valid targets than have more invalid targets. That's probably the best way to look at it. But anyways, don't think we might have a bonus stream tomorrow. Just on the sheer basis of we probably won't on Friday. I don't know. Keep an eye out on Twitter for that. On Thursday, though, Christmas Eve, we have our annual screening of A Christmas Carol starring Sir Patrick Stewart. It is, in my mind, the quintessential of performances of A Christmas Carol. I know a lot of people love A Muppet's Christmas Carol. I know a lot of people love A Nightmare Before Christmas, but for me, this is the quintessential and I heartily recommend it. So join me at 9 o'clock for that, in our usual slot, essentially, for Among Us. And then on Friday, again, keep an eye on Twitter. We might have a coding stream for people to enjoy in the background when they're spending time a little bit more alone this Christmas than they might otherwise prefer. And then on Saturday we'll be back for the carousel, so we get to see what everybody got for Christmas and whatnot then. And on Monday we will definitely have another bonus coding stream. I should probably name these, or maybe just call them all building blocks. I don't know, because I'm really trying to get the viewership up on these. If we hit 30, then I get some big self-promotion opportunities, so we need to do that. Because it's a hell of a lot easier than hitting the 75 average that Twitch asks for. And we'll be back on Tuesday, of course, for more building blocks working on the broodbringer. Other than that, I do make videos on youtube.com/remembercomic. There isn't much out right now because I'm very, very busy. But look out for, like, New Year's Day. There should be a very special and long overdue video. Then I do have other videos recorded, but I haven't had the time to edit them. So there's that. Patrons, of course, see those videos early. So if I manage that particularly special video, you'll see that New Year's Eve. And you can become a patron for as little as $1 a month over at patreon.com/lying. And that helps me do everything. I need that for, like, the lights. I need that for the internet. I need that for the power. And it is so literally you guys give me the power to do all this. But that's all that I have for you tonight. I hope that you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time.